Welcome to my channel, Ateno Gola the Lawyer, Karibuni Sana, and today is Mentorship Wednesday, and you're going to be talking about being able to balance between being a mother and a career woman. And joining me today is a very special guest. It's my mom. She is called Nancy Award Okeo. And yeah, mom, say hi.
Hi, I hope you'll enjoy our topic of today.
Thank you. So if you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so mom, thank you for coming today.
Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Yes, thank you so much. And as I told you, we are going to be talking about how women can balance between career and being a mother, because I know it's not written on script, and I know it's a very hard, let me say, juggle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we'll start from, of course, now maybe your story from now high school until now your career, how you transitioned into career. So maybe you could now tell us, upon finishing high school, how was it for you?
Upon finishing my high school, actually, the first thing I did was to take care of my young cousins. I had two young cousins who were almost twins, though from different mothers, but they were like twins. And taking care of them was a little bit difficult because they were both boys from different mothers, but almost like twins, and were being taken care of by one mother. So I had to go and help my auntie to take care of these my two twins. I took care of them for about 3 months. After that, I got the odd jobs at industrial area while I was still waiting to go to the university. So I worked at industrial area for almost 6 months, and then I went to the university. And university, how I went, I studied throughout the 5 years and started even in my 6th year because I did the first degree 3 years, I did my master's 2 years, I registered for PhD, of which I'd already completed the classwork. I was supposed to start collecting data. And in that process is when I got married, and then my education ended there. And when I watched my parents, both of them, actually, my mother had already retired on 8th ground. My father was about to retire. I had my siblings who needed school fees. I needed to support my father to pay for them school fees. So I saw it wise enough to stop my education for a while and start working to support my younger siblings while I also get married, because I will still have my own money which I can use for supporting my siblings' education.
Okay. I remember you told me you're the first village, you're the first girl in your village to have finished still Form 6, right?
Yes, I think you might have heard my mother talking so much about it. The way my father was very proud of me, because how I started school from class 1, I went throughout without repeating any class up to masters. So that gave my father a lot of motivation, and he always believed in me and always was ready to support me. Actually, in our village, uh, people thought educating girls was useless. But as opposed to my father, who took the risk to educate his girls, those who wanted to go to school. And like me, I never let him down. whenever he paid for me school fees, there was always a result. And I think if you can call your grandma always talking about it, that my father was always proud of me, could always talk that that's the daughter who is as bright as him. But anyway, you've also emulated that, because the way you started your baby class, you've gone through until university, even up to KSL, clearing it in one sitting. Eh? Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And then also, I remember you also mentioned that you were a student leader in India when you were in campus. Maybe you could talk about that time when you're there.
Yeah, after my first year, I was elected actually. It was a campaign to be the leader of Kenya University Students Association, and also to African University Student Association. So under both the capacities, I served 2 terms until I said, no, it's enough. There are so many ladies. Can you support another lady to take up the position?
Mama, yeah, you've never told me that you're a politician.
While I was in school, actually, I was a leader almost throughout primary school and high school. High school, yeah, and high school I was a prefect. Primary school I was also a prefect. So when I go to university, also they just chose me to be a leader. But remember, my dad also tried politics. He got disappointed when his best friend was shot dead. That is the late Tom Mboya. That is when he decided to leave politics. But he was into it for a long time. Even your late grandma was also a leader. We might have not mentioned that during her funeral, but she was representing Kabondo Kasipul women in maendeleo ya wanawake. I can recall when I was still young, she was with Grace Onyango, B. Phoebe Asio, and the rest. They were great leaders.
So it runs in the family.
I do not know whether there's genetic aspect of it, but I've seen it in our family.
Okay.
Yeah, and my grandfather, the father of my father, was also a great leader.
Sawa, sawa. So now we move to now where you started working. You're from India, then you started working. I don't know at what point you got me. Was it immediately you came, or maybe you could now just say how it was for you, because you started working at Catholic University.
No. Catholic University was my second employer. The first one was Maharishi International University, based somewhere in Limuru. They have Maharishi International Universities in the US. They have a branch here called Maharishi School of Management. That's where I started working in 1993. I worked there for 1.5 years, and then there was an advert from Catholic University which I applied, and they absorbed me. Actually, Maharishi, it was not more of permanent, but somehow a contract. But Catholic University employed me on a permanent basis. And remember, had still put a stop to my PhD research work. So I was somehow trying to find out whether I can still continue my studies or not. That is why I immediately joined the academic line when job was offered to me from the academic sector. And that was, I got you after about 4 years of working, yes.
So by the time you are getting me, you are working
At Catholic University. And it was terrible. Before I gave birth to you, the lecture halls at Catholic University were very big halls. There was no microphone to use,
At that time, there were no
and
microphones.
no. And I was teaching about 200 students seated in a hall. I could go and stand right in the middle of the hall, shout at the top of my voice, and I found it hectic. Actually, one day I just thought, is it worth it? I was expectant, very tired, and the same time I'm expected to deliver in lecturing, and equipments are not there. So I just said it's not worth it. The energy that I'm using at the university, I said it wasn't worth it. So I just decided to resign from there when I was almost giving birth to you. Yes. Therefore, I resigned, and immediately I gave birth to you. After 1 month, I was offered an employment at St. John's Ambulance. And that is the time now your father had to take care of you very closely, because I was leaving very early in the morning, being accounts office, and they'd never had any accounts officer before. It wasn't organized, I had to put so many systems in place. So he was taking care of you.
Wow. So now, moving on. So you've given birth to me. Then now, Dad had to take care of me. I remember you said even used to carry me on his back.
Yes, while doing some chores in the house while I was away, yes, he could carry you on his back because there was nobody else. The helper we had hired in the first place, we didn't know she was expectant. So when she came in, she started mistreating you and you are very young. So we discussed and said the best thing is to dismiss that girl, and because your father was not in employment yet, he could easily take care of you, and he agreed.
So we were talking about now having a supportive partner. How important is it to have someone who understands the situation, who will be able to step up when there's no house help, or when there's a situation that requires him as a man to be helpful?
It needs a discussion between both the parents, the husband and the wife, because in this case we had to discuss it together, and we agreed that our baby is not going to suffer. If she doesn't want to work, we better get rid of her, and see into it that our baby is well taken care of. So it is usually very important to talk about it, because even himself, he's so like, whenever he left, when I'd already gone to work, he could come back, find the baby crying, and immediately he gives the baby food, the baby stops crying. So it means whenever I left and he left, the baby was not being given food. eh? And the our daughter was a very a very good eater.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that is me now. I had good eating habits.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now, then a few years later, you got Junior.
Yes, a few years later, I got junior. But there was sometimes in between, before I got junior. Actually, when you were learning to crawl, you were a very obedient child. Whatever you were taught, you are always doing it. I remember at about 4 months, you were hardly using napkins. You knew time for going to potty.
At 4 months.
Yes, at 4 months. Because when you wanted to go to potty, we could hear you all restless. And immediately the nappy is removed. Those days we didn't have pampers. We were using napkins. So immediately the napkins are removed and you are put in a potty, and you will do what you want to do. And then start smiling. You have been relieved and taken back to the baby cot or wherever you are. So I got this another house help when you were about 5 months. This one I got from up country. My mother sent her to me. And I gave her all the instructions. I told her, this baby of mine doesn't do anything on her baby coat. You have to be extra careful. And I tried to make her as comfortable as possible, doing everything for her by the time I was leaving the house to ensure that when I'm away, actually she attends to the baby. And one day I forgot the safe keys in the house. I went to work very early in the morning, realized by 8 a.m. that the safe keys were not there. I had to go back to the house. Only to reach nearer, the nearer I go to the house, I could hear your voice. The baby was crying and crying, and it was a very chilly morning. So I was trying to wonder, why is my baby crying? Because I knew your voice very well. When I got at the door, the kitchen was just next to the main door, the entrance door. She was in the kitchen now trying to cook what she has never cooked before. But she had everything for breakfast and for lunch. So I just knocked very fast and told her to open the door. She was shocked. And because she knew every time I go to work, I could come back late in the evening. So when I got in, I just went straight to the bedroom where you are. I found you naked, crying and crying. And then I asked her, why is this baby naked and why is she crying? She was wet and I wanted to change. I told her, since you came, have you ever washed anything this baby of mine has soiled? It means you didn't give attention and you are employed because of her. Just organize your things. As I leave my house, you are also leaving. And I had to carry you back to work. I escorted her to the bus stage. Mm.
I think what I've learned with you, you're a no-nonsense person when it comes to people taking care of your children.
I loved my babies so much and I wanted my babies to be taken good care of because I believed I was paying my house helps well. I was treating them well, trying to make them also comfortable in my house. Therefore, they should make my children comfortable.
Okay, and I think now even young mothers should never overlook the comfort of their children over any other thing, because maybe they could find the house clean, but the children are not happy. Maybe you could also talk about that.
Actually, this is where many young mothers have missed it. You know, when somebody dies, are you ever heard people saying he left how many millions or he possessed how many cars? What do people say during the funeral?
It's what maybe they left in their hearts, how they took care of them.
How many children
Oh,
you
how
had?
many children?
Yes.
Okay.
Eh?
Oh, I didn't
How
take
many
note.
children? How many grandchildren?
Okay.
You know, biblically, the children are supposed to be taken care of by the parents. We are the custodian. Of course, children we've been given by God. God is the owner and the creator, but while on earth here, we are the custodian of the children. And therefore, we should take care of them, even if it means leaving your job. So many mothers have resigned from their jobs only to take care of their children. And later on, maybe they do something later when the children are grown up. For me, I had to juggle because your father didn't have good employment. So we needed to bring in home both of us. So I wanted to employ house helps who could take good care of my children. I remember at one point when I got junior, I decided to employ 2 house help. Same situation again until I fired them on the same day. When I again came back home abruptly, found one in the kitchen, busy doing cooking in the kitchen. The other one, who was supposed to be babysitting, is busy dancing with the loud music, and my son is crying. That was the end of both of them. Yes.
So that day again, you had to take us both to your work.
Yes, I had to take you. I was lucky. I was always given sundry car because we didn't have a car during that time. And my boss was very good. He was an old man who understands what young mothers go through. So whenever I came with my babies to the office, he never scolded me. He could give me leave from the following day to go and look for a helper to help me take care of my children. Yeah, so he was a very good boss. And for me, the life of my children was very important. I couldn't compromise it. Yes.
I think also maybe now you could talk about employers at the workplace, because not many employers usually understand the situations of mothers. Of course, yes, it's their private business or their whatever they're running, but I think also maybe you should now speak about that. You are lucky to have a good boss, but I think also it's because you are delivering, right? You are good at your work. So maybe you could also talk about being efficient, so that in case you need an off or what is it called? Yes, an
Leave.
leave. Yes,
Yes.
you can now be allowed.
Um, Luckily now in HR, there's work-life balance. It is important. It should be uh, actually practiced at the place of work. If somebody can work from home simply because this young mother has a problem with house helps, I think that should be guaranteed and should be acceptable. It is in books and trained teachers are reading it, but very few organizations are practicing it. And now we thank God, Corona has demonstrated that COVID-19 that we can work from home. I was fortunate also to get some scholarship to go and study in the Netherlands. This was done by the European Union after delivering some projects in the NGO sector. And I managed to go to Netherlands, actually all the Scandinavian countries, were in Netherlands, Belgium, German, and France. You'll find that many of the employers, they had daycare for their employees. And thank God in Kenya, the organization that first demonstrated that was Safaricom, where a young mother can carry the baby and there are people to take care of the baby while this young mother is attending to the duty. But again, it is very hectic for the young mother, because if you have to prepare in the morning and get out with your baby, it means you maybe need to wake up at around 3 a.m. So that also delivering at the place of work may be very stressful. I still don't know a better model that can work, but this I saw in these Scandinavian countries because I was doing a course, children, youth and development. So part of our studies, field studies, were to go and learn what happens to the children in other countries, and also how they are taken care of while they are still young. And part of what also we learn, the children who are taken to juvenile courts because of their characters, it's because they were left early alone by their parents. Nobody took care of them early enough, and therefore they developed and becoming characters. Yes.
Yeah, so it is very important now for mothers to try and also be present mothers as much as they're chasing their careers.
Actually, absolutely right. And my father, most of the time, scolded me that your children have made you to be a prisoner. You cannot do anything. You cannot advance in your career. But I accepted it. I told him, when right time comes, I know you are really waiting for my PhD, but when right time comes, I will deliver that PhD, even though until now I'm not able to finish it, but I know I'll be able to finish it. Hopefully, before he dies or before I die.
No, I know God will grant you that wish for sure. And now moving on, after you've gotten junior, then Okay, that period, it was like 6 years, because no, 4 years between Junior and Janice, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, then now Janice. So now you have three children. What was your experience having three children and still trying to balance between your demands as a mother, a wife, and now the career, please?
Actually, it was still hectic, but though there was a relief because by the time Janice was coming in, both of you were already in preschool. So it was easier to take care of Janice alone while both of you were away at school. But I was fortunate. By the time I was getting Janice, I was now an employer, not employed. That's the time now I had resigned from St. John Ambulance. I was running an NGO. So it was a little bit easier for me because I was to ask myself for permission, not asking anybody for permission. I could go to the office odd hours, sometimes 9 p.m. in the night and sometimes 6 a.m. in the morning, and still deliver what I'm supposed to deliver. So during that time, at least I got a relief. When you are your own employer, you can actually manage it yourself very well as opposed to when you are employed. So during that time, I got a good relief. I can say that, yes.
Okay. And also now I want us to talk about now the how mothers really should be keen on the character development of the children, because if you leave your children all the time with house helps, or if you don't take keen interest in developing their character, I believe they'll start behaving like the house helps, right? Yeah, so maybe you could also talk on how you are very deliberate on teaching your children the ways, the character that you wanted them to have.
Actually, all that normally comes from God. Alone, it's not able for any parent to do it. But constantly praying and also not forgetting that I was also working all the time. I needed somebody to help me. Like this other lady that I got and worked for us for almost 6 or 7 years.
Benta.
Benta, yeah. I can remember you people always demanded Benta back. But actually, she requested that she wanted to go and get married. What I can say is, honestly praying and also trying to be there for your children. Both of us actually. Whenever I was away, always your father was available for you, except there are a few occasions when his work demanded that he teaches late in the night and comes back at after 9 p.m. But majority of the time while I was away, like when I was in the Netherlands, when I was in Turkey, he was always with you, and he ensured that he came home early, trying to find out what's happening with the children. And house helps are also not all bad. You can be fortunate to get a good one. Like Benta gave me a very, very big relief. And that is why I was able to add something on top of what I had before, the postgraduate diploma. She took good care of you. She was close to you, could even tell me something that I had not noticed is happening, and we follow it up with her. So, no matter how good you treat your house help, they have their own characters. Each and every human being has his or her own downfalls, and you must try your best to keep them comfortable. But if you find they are unbecoming, it is better to release them, because of late people put CCTVs in the house and shows them exactly what the house helps are doing in the house. It is very, very important to try to be with your children, especially when you come from work. Try to be as close to them as possible and try to find out what happened during the day. If a child cries so much, when the child sees you as a parent, whether the father or the mother, there's something definitely wrong in that house. And as a parent, you should try to find out what is the problem.
Okay.
Yes.
And now, even when you're talking about house helps, I remember for you, one of the major requirements of a house help, at least she should have finished high school so that they can be able to. I think now their judgment changes. Maybe you could also talk about hiring at least an educated helper.
Basic education opens up the mind of a person, any person, especially girls. May not be able to quote it directly, but this was done by the South African leader Nelson Mandela. A girl who gets a basic education will definitely reason much better than one who did not manage to get the basic education. And being that that opens up the mind, this person can be able to reason like a human being. There are people, of course, in the old days who did not go to school at all, but they reasoned very, very well. But in the current world, you'll find that people are living like robots. If they don't have anything to open up their minds, they will reason like wild animals. So for me, I wanted somebody who can reason, who whom I can talk to and is able to understand simple instructions. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so now we're talking about the time that you were at Burundi, how you are able to be the acting dean there, and also now how you left us. I think at least that time you were older, so also you could talk about now career progression while the children are a bit older, because I've learned also in the childbearing years or when the children are toddlers, it's hard to make some strides in your career as a woman. Maybe now you could share your insights on that.
Okay, for Burundi, even though your last born sister wasn't as old as you were yourself and Samuel, I decided to take it up because we really needed the money. You remember your father was sick for a long time. We depleted our finances and we really needed the finances. So when I got an opportunity there, I decided to take it up. But I remember I was always following it up and trying to find out how you were doing. But that was also as a relief to me because Benta was still with you people, isn't it? You still had the house help called Benta? I think
No,
so.
no, mom. That time, I think you said we don't need house helps. We are
Oh,
older.
you are all doing it by yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, because you are doing it yourself with your father in the house, most of the time because he was unwell, um, I didn't mind so much because I knew nobody was going to frustrate you people. Yeah. And being that you are all at boarding schools. Yeah, Janice was also at a boarding school, Samuel and you. So I knew there was you were well taken care of at the boarding schools, of which I was able even to still communicate with your matron, Samuel's teachers, and Janice matron. I could call them all the way from Burundi.
I
Yes.
think now you've brought out an aspect of now being a present parent in the children's education, because I don't remember any time when you and Daddy ever missed my school open days, or how hey, you'll come and sandwich me during the academic days.
Yeah, it is very, very important for education of a child, especially if you want a child to succeed. It is normally in a triangular form. You have the child at the top, both the two lower sides are the parent and the teachers. So the parents and the teachers are supposed to support this child. Is when the child can succeed in education. It's very, very important that you follow your child where the child is learning. I also remember while I was learning, my father used to visit me. Actually, I'm the only one in our family who was visited up to high school. You know, those days high school was going up to A level. I was visited when I was in O level, from 1 to form 4. My father was ever coming to visit with me. And when I went to high school, form 5 and 6, he was coming, especially when he had a meeting in Kisii. He would come all the way up to our school. So I wanted to do to my children what my parents also did for me. Actually, both of them, even my mother was ever coming to visit me at school. So I really wanted to show what my parents had done to me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and I also remember how you went the extra mile to always have tuition teachers at home, you know?
Yes, when I felt that any of you was doing well, I used to engage the tuition teachers once in a while, so that the topics you are not getting better at school, you could still get them better at home. What I wanted you people to get is that education that can enable you to do something in future, not education pumping you with cramming and what have you, but in future you will not be able to think for yourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And also now, as we are coming to a close, maybe now you could now advise parents and all, young parents and also parents who have youth and teenagers. Now, from your experience, what would be the best advice in terms of bringing up a child and ensuring a child has the appropriate character? Because I know many parents right now are facing a lot of difficulties with children and I mean the the world right now is, you know, very demanding. You know, children are getting into things at a very young age. So what could you advise?
As I had said earlier, always and continuously praying for them. That is very, very important, because on our own we can't do anything. Apart from that, being there for them, trying to understand them. I remember at one point when your father was out of the country, he was at
Namibia.
Namibia. All of us were sleeping on one bed, and we slept on one bed for almost a period of, was it 2 months or 3 months?
Oh, okay.
We didn't trust anybody sleeping in a room alone. What I wanted to bring is, we are a family, we should stick together. Eh? And that was the time Janice was a toddler. So we were trying to stick together despite that your father was away. But being there for the children is very, very important. Trying to learn what they are lacking or what they need. You remember we have a meeting in our house, trying to sort out things when we are together as a family, especially when you had grown up, so that there was nobody else and we don't have a house help. We sit together, pray together, trying to understand one another in the family. That is very, very important. Actually, there are some of my friends who are asking me, how did I manage to raise children in Eastlands? Children who are born in Eastlands, most of them are a wreck. But to me, it is by the grace of God. That one I can just say continuous prayers, just asking God to take care of them.
Yeah, but mom, I remember you are super strict. Like, whenever I used to hear you are at the gate, you used to run and have books when if it's upside down so that you find that reading. But honestly, I think maybe we could also talk about being not okay, not very harsh, but being you know how the Bible says, if you don't scold a child, they will give you problems in the future. Because I think also maybe some parents of these days really baby children too much.
Actually, for me, I'm against the removal of canes in school. For us, we were caned so much. You remember during my mother's funeral, I said how she used to cane us. But that made us better people in the society. And that made us to work extra hard. Many a times you ask me why I'm doing all that work, why I'm hurting my back. But that is the way we were trained how to work. It's not hurting myself, but trying to ensure that I live in a better environment. And caning to me, it is allowed in the Bible. If you spare the road, then you are destroying that child. And that is why we've had many, many problems in many families with their children. As much as you people are not for that cane, but I think you can attest to it that it made you a better person. Yeah.
I even know you used to cane us more than daddy.
Yeah, always the disciplinarian in the house is the mother. There are many parents like me, I was never caned by my father. Being a pediatrician, he loved children so much. So all the discipline cases were from my mother.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think it's very important for parents to hear that. And now that we are closing, finally, what would be your parting shot?
My parting shot to mothers, please, please take care of your children. When you are gone, you want to leave back a society that is responsible. If you are never there for your children, you will never know their character. And if you don't know their character, they may have very queer characters that they cannot be shaped at a later age. So, especially when they are still very young, try to be there for them. Try to make time to be there for them always so that you can be able to understand them. And education is not left for the teachers alone. It is left for both the parents and the teachers. During COVID-19 lockdown, parents were crying that the schools should open, the children should go back to school. When will you ever learn the character of your child? It is very, very important that you create time for them, even if it means leaving employment for some time. You should do it for the sake of your children. When you are dead, it is not written how many millions you've left in the bank. It is just written how many children you've left behind. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Mom. I know people will pick a few lessons, and thank you for coming.
Thank you also for ambushing me.
Okay, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you.